All right, we've got a word problem. An unmanned submarine that is exploring the ocean floor begins to ascend to the surface. So that means it's going up. The elevation h in feet of the submersible is modeled by that function, where t is the time in minutes since the submarine began to ascend. State the slope, y-intercept, domain, and range. Draw the graph of the line. Okay, let's see. So here is our equation. So what's the slope? The slope is 925. Interpret the slope of this function in context. For each minute, the height changes by what? Okay, so we got to think about what's happening here. T is in minutes. The height is in feet. So for every minute that goes by, the submarine is rising by 925 feet. So that's what we have to say. The submarine is ascending at a rate of 925 feet per minute. Remember, slope is a measure of rate, the ratio of the change in y over the change in x. Okay, so the y-intercept of this function that we have up here is negative 11,500, right? So when x is 0 and time is 0, the y-intercept is at negative 11,500. Interpret the y-intercept of this function in context. When the minutes equal 0, so when we start, the height is, all right, so the sub begins ascending when it is 11,500 feet below the surface. Okay? All right, so what's next? Ooh, all right, we're going to graph this. Okay, so the first thing we're being asked to do is label the axes and determine the domain and the range. Okay, so we're not working with x's and y's now. The domain here is the input, so that's t, right, in time. And so t in time. So x is actually t, and that's time in minutes. And the other axis is height, or what did we call it? Yeah, height. We did call it height. Height. So it's height or depth, right? We'll call it depth in feet. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and label this axis. Ooh. All right, depth in feet. I always like to put units so we know we're not talking about like hours and miles or something like that. So we got to think critically about time. The time starts at 0, and I'm not sure when it gets to the surface, so I'm not 100% sure what the domain is. I do know that we're starting at 0, but I'm not 100% sure when we reach the surface. I think I'm going to have to figure that out. And the range, right, we're starting at negative 11,500, and we are rising, right? We have h of t. So we can't go above the ocean surface, so we're just going to go to 0. Okay, so we have our domain and our range, sort of. I still need to find out what my t value is for when we hit the surface. So now we're going to graph this thing. Okay, so we've got negative, let's put a dot here, negative 11,500. Okay, we're going up by 925. I believe that's what it was, 925 feet per minute. Okay, so you know what I'm going to do? My function was negative 11,500 plus 925 times t. I want to know when we hit the surface, right? I want to know my x-intercept. So that means my x-intercept happens when y is 0. So I just replaced y with 0. So I'm going to solve that equation. I have 925t is equal to positive 11,500. I do that division and I get 12.43. Now, why did I use the x-intercept, right? So 12.43. Well, I used the x-intercept because I needed to know that that was the, I needed that for my domain statement. My time is not going to go past when I hit the surface of the ocean, the surface, right? So 12.43, I needed that number. And if I had tried to use slope intercept, if I'm going up 925 feet every minute, I can't see where those points are because I don't know exactly where 925 is here, right? So it just wasn't going to be useful. But if I have these 2 points and I draw that line, I get a really nice graph there. Very straight line. It starts at time 0, ends at time 12.43, starts at negative 11,500 and rises up to sea level, right? Right at 0. And that's it. So one last quick thing, let's go ahead and pick a random point on this graph. Right there, it looks like I can read that. It's at a lattice point. So what is that point saying? That point is saying after 6 minutes, the submarine has risen to negative 6,000 feet below the surface of the ocean. So that's kind of interesting, right? That's how you would interpret these points. After 6 minutes have passed, you have risen to 6,000 feet below the surface of the ocean. Yay.